Alrighty, it's time for a unscripted chill one. Me just to sit here and rant about something that's been grilling my girdle for the past couple of days now. In the background, simmering, I don't sit here obsessing about 40k lore every single day of my life, I promise. Alright, I do, but you know, it is what it is. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below, the like button is down below. It should be lit up now, that's what YouTube does, doesn't it? It lights it up as I say that. But today, we're going to talk about 40k lore and why I think Games Workshop aren't very good at it these days. Now, I get this email a lot, or a message on Discord, you know, from a concerned patron, basically talking about the fact that they've just picked up a new codex and they find its writing to be kind of lackluster and not very well put together. One of my friends who has become a patron, so thank you very much, Simon. He is actually an English teacher, and when he got his Grey Knights Codex, he was appalled at the state of the prose and the writing that is in this rather expensive tome from back in the day. He's got it there and he's reading through it, and he says, "Yeah, if I got this from one of my students, I would be like, this is contrived. I know it. I know the setting that it's in, I know what it is, right? But this is not written very well, and all of the main events that you're telling me have happened to this chapter are very hand-wavy." Now, I had a little talk with Simon, and I did explain to him that, well, basically, this has to be the case. The first thing we need to do in this argument, right, is Games Workshop very good at writing lore? And the answer is no, but there are reasons for that. One of the main reasons is they're writing a war game. Writing lore for a wargame is incredibly difficult because you need to keep balance in everything that you do. You need to maintain that nearly every single faction in your game is, at least on the tabletop, able to be beaten by all of the others on a good day, right? That needs to be able to happen. But when you have a faction like Grey Knights, or, let's be honest, anything in 40k in general, you really do need to make sure that their power levels are being respected. That is what a codex is. It is a snapshot of how awesome the army you have in your hands is and why you should buy it. It is a walking, not quite talking, advertisement for the models you're about to buy. Right? Cool. This is where the controversy happens, though, because quite a lot of the lore that we see in on Lexicanum and in Warhammer 40k Wiki and all these other places that have been dredged up from all of the different sources, nearly all of them are from codexes. And if you've picked up your codex, if you've got a codex nearby you right now, go over and pick it up and I give it a little flick through. When was the last piece of lore that you read in a codex where you thought, wow, that's really cool. That's a really cool piece of lore. I love that, you know. Can you think of one? Because I certainly can't. You know what I think when I get cool lore from? YouTube. I get cool lore from YouTube, and I think one of the main reasons why people tend to think these days Games Workshop can't write good lore is because there are so many other sources who take the very bland, black and white sludge that is 40k lore in codexes, and they make really good videos about those things. Voldemort's a really good example, right? This is a guy with a really cool gravelly voice who takes a concept that it is in 40k, he does his research, he pulls together all of these really bland pieces of blandly written lore and makes them entertaining. Warhammer 40,000 is incredibly lucky because what it is imagine, if you will, good lore burns paper, right? Good lore burns paper. Okay? Now, we've got this piece of paper that we want to burn, so we hold it up to the sun. And that's the lore. The lore is the sun. That's Games Workshop telling you what the lore is. Well, the paper isn't burning. The paper is just there. It's warm. It's warm, but it's not burning. What YouTube is, and other things like this, is a big old magnifying glass coming over and focusing the sun's rays and burns straight through the paper, or just burns the paper, right? That is what Voldemort is. That is what the Amber King is. All of these other YouTubers who do Warhammer 40,000 lore on YouTube, they take the really dry prose, the really listy way of writing that Games Workshop has, and they give it oomph, they give it theatre. They make sure that you're transported to the world of the 41st millennium, which is why I think if Games Workshop ever do come for the lore channels, that is the end of the hobby. When they do that, the hobby's finished, right? It's done. Back up, go home, do something else with your time, right? Because this is when they are literally going, all this free advertisement that we're getting, all of this stuff, all these people who do what we do better for free and push people towards doing our hobby, yeah, we don't want that, right? If that ever happens, it's over, it's finished, pack it up, go home. Back in the day, though, there was another form. Before we had, well, we did have YouTube, but it was like in the nascent days of 40k lore YouTube. When you've got people like, you know, your One Mind Syndicates who just read from the wiki, people like that, who are coming up on YouTube. Back in the day, the other lens, that lens I'm talking about, was 40k books from the Black Library, okay? So the amount of Night Lords fans that I know, I say to them, hey, why are you a Night Lords fan? Is it because of your codex? Not that you have one. It's because of the Chaos Space Marine Codex? No. It's because of the Horus Heresy? No. No, it's the Night Lords Omnibus. The Night Lords Omnibus created nearly every single Night Lords fan I know, and I know a lot. I mean, I'm talking 7 or 8 now. Is it 8? Something like that, right? 7 or 8 members of my close circle like Night Lords. Night Lords are their thing. It's their shtick, right? And Aaron Dembski-Bowden's books, the Night Lords trilogy, are the things that got them into their army. If those people, if all they heard about the Night Lords was the sun, right, was Games Workshop telling them things, they never would have collected that army in the first place. And I think that's the main issue of 40k lore and what Games Workshop can and cannot do with it, right? Games Workshop, ironically, are very, 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 very bad at marketing their armies. Controversial statement? I know, but that's what you're here for, isn't it? But they're awful at it. They are really, really not very good at marketing their armies and their models to you. They make really cracking models, for the most part, most of the time, right? But they're not very good at linking those models into the lore in a way that makes you go, wow, I really want to get this. Okay, you may think that they do, right? But think about it. When you've had that lore moment of going, whoa, I need to get this army, dude. This is really cool. Where did you get that feeling? I'm willing to bet you a pint of beer right now, man or woman listening to this, or somewhere in between, wherever you are, listening to this, right? I'm willing to bet you a pint of beer, or whatever alcoholic drink you partake in, if you do. And if you don't, a coffee, I suppose. I'm willing to bet you that that moment did not come whilst reading anything that Games Workshop themselves have put out. What I mean by that is, it's not from a novel, and it's not from YouTube, or Reddit, or any of these other sources where you may get 40k lore, right? I'm talking that moment you had a lore ding light bulb go off in your head when you went, oh my god, I've got to collect this army. That moment did not come from the horse's mouth. It did not come from Games Workshop, and it should come from Games Workshop. Games Workshop should be the A1 people who are writing good 40k lore in a way that really gets you going. One thing I can't forgive them for is Warhammer Plus. Because in Warhammer Plus, you do have pieces of content that are kind of like that. You do. Right? Certain animations, things like that, you definitely do. But they're behind a paywall. A big paywall. Nobody's paying that kind of money to watch, 3 animated series that are middling when compared to other animated series. Let's be honest. Any 40k animation rides on the fact that it's a 40k animation. Yeah? The Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime, even to anime fans that I've spoken to about it, is a good anime. Even if you strip away all of the Cyberpunk stuff, it's a good anime. A really good anime. That's like top 10 of the last 10, 15 years, right? You can't say the same about Warhammer 40,000. I've seen them, right? They're average. They're average, but they're really cool because they're 40k. Because 40k in itself carries. It carries weight, dudes. It carries. It's so cool, it's able to carry things that are kind of substandard. Which is one of the reasons why I think If they do an Amazon TV show, and it ends up, and they just stick kind of close to the lore, it will be successful. Because 40k carries, dude. Cavill knows that, and many other people know that. It is cool. You can write a substandard script, and it still be a banger because it's in the 40k universe. It covers up a lot of cracks. If you have a setting that is that good, that is that ingrained, that much of a magnet for people that are out there, you really, really do need a better lens to get your lore to the people who need it most. The new players, or the players who are already playing your game that are looking for a new army, or who didn't even know they were looking for a new army. That happens all the time. You know that feeling. You watching this video, yes, you know this feeling that you get when you go, ooh, I need to collect me some of those. I need to get me some of those. Or I need to write some lore about those. Oh yeah, I'm going to start a new army. Maybe kill team. Maybe I'll just get a kill team. And then before you know it, you got 2,000 points. And you're like, oh my god, where's my money gone? Right? Lore did that. Lore got you to the store and forced your credit card into the card reader with your models. That's what lore did to you. It made you a junkie. And Games Workshop not getting that right is more unforgivable than their price rises. I've said it, right? Their price rises are terrible and they shouldn't happen. But not getting the lore right, and by what I mean is not explaining your lore, not giving a proper vector for your lore that is digestible and inspiring, is cardinal in the extreme in terms of a sin, right? Games Workshop, I am flabbergasted. They still neglect this. I am absolutely beside myself that they still do this. That all of the lore you get from Warhammer 40,000 comes from them, and it comes from codexes and the main rulebook. That is beyond embarrassing. That is terrible. I long for the days of White Dwarf. Remember back in the day when White Dwarf actually had new lore coming out on it? Because they were expanding it as they went, right? We're talking like in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s. The Warhammer 40k lore was still expanding. It's kind of like the Big Bang going off, right? Things are still being added to it. Like the Tau, for instance. The Tau just appearing out of nowhere, right? Things are still being added. And by the way, have you noticed... Here's the drop-off. I've got a very good example of the drop-off of 40k lore that Games Workshop like to write about. Do you remember when the Tyranids came out? I do. Do you remember when the Necrons came out? I do. Remember when the Tau came out? I definitely do. Those were covered extensively in lore scripts in White Dwarf. They couldn't stop telling you about those three factions when they dropped. When they finally became a thing, right? Tyranids are way old, but you know what I'm saying, right? They couldn't wait. Like, the Tau had entire White Dwarf editions given over to their lore. Here is why they're cool. Here is what a stealth battlesuit is. Here is what their big Gundam models actually do, and where they're from. What kind of empire they're from, what kind of society they're from. Dude, they even then made a video game about it called Fire Warrior, which was terrible, but there we are. But here's what I mean. Games Workshop celebrated the new army. They celebrated its lore. They threw it at you in great chunks, in great tomes, that if you put a bit of music on, you got whisked away into reading about this thing and getting ingrained in it and wanting to know more. What did they do for Leagues of Votan? Those of you who know will know, right? What did they do for Leagues of Votan? A few blurbs. Yeah? They were the cover of a White Dwarf. Yeah, they were. But there were a few blurbs of their lore in that White Dwarf. That's it. I have it in my house. It's here. I got that because I thought, oh, maybe a new army for me to collect. Let's read about the lore. There isn't any. There literally isn't any. Buy our models, scrub. Okay, alright, sorry, Games Workshop. Yeah, I know. But there isn't any lore. You don't need lore, buy the models. There's some art. Okay, let me just pick up the codex. What's in the codex? Some lore. Okay, cool. How many? I'm going to get the codex now. Give me one sec. I'm going to get that bloody codex. Here it is. Look. You hear the pages. If you can hear it at all. Right. Where's the law? Where is the law? Law. Okay, we have a blurb on several pages. We have several pages where there is a blurb explaining in very, very vague terms what the faction is and what it does. And then we have rules, right? We have copious amounts of rules and stratagems, because we all know, we all love stratagems, don't we? Right, we've got loads of fucking stratagems all over the place here. And in terms of lore, I would say, if we put it all together, there are about 4 pages of lore in this book. This book is sizable for a codex. It's not small, right? There are about 4, combined together, there are 4 pages of lore. Is that enough? And by the way, I mean 5 pages, double spaced, size 12 on the page, right? This is not squeezed in together. This is a lot in not a lot in a book. This is an entire faction. This is not a faction that's had several codexes before. This is not the Grey Knights. This is not the Tyranids. This is not Space Marines. This is not whatever, right? This is a new faction. They need all the fleshing out that they can get. And they have nothing. Absolutely nothing. They have vague meanderings of lore. Back in the day when the Tau came out, you got tomes, dude. You got books worth of content in a monthly magazine. They couldn't wait to tell you about the Tau because their studio had been working on it for years and were really ingrained in it and really passionate about it. And finally they got to show you their work and their lore that they've been working on painstakingly. And everyone thought it was awesome. Even the people who didn't like Tau thought it was awesome, right? The only people who didn't like the Tau are, you know, the people who like memes, who are morons for the most part anyway, and people who came up against Tau gunline lists in later editions who, you know, put them into the being fish people and all that sort of stuff. But the Tau, when they came out, everybody who I knew thought that they were epic. Really cool, right? Even if they didn't want to collect them, they still went, that's a cool army, dude. That's a cool army. Because that's what Games Workshop used to do. I remember the surge, the sea change that Necrons were when they dropped and they were in White Dwarf. Oh my god. I sat there in school, in secondary school, in the library, just reading about star gods. Oh my god, dude, it was so cool. Like Catan shards and things like that, mate, it was amazing. And these dudes looked awesome. I couldn't afford them at the time, obviously, because I'm a kid. But I was mouth-watering over these models, and I was getting that feeling of I need these models in my life right now. They're amazing. Look at them. Look at the lore that they have, right? They're so cool. And this is an army, right, of robots without personalities. At that stage, all they were Terminators in space who were kind of Egyptian. That was it. That was it. that was the sum total of their lore. The Games Workshop managed to fill out several White Dwarfs with their lore and stories about them. There were short stories, dude, in White Dwarf that covered 8 or 9 pages of just guys coming across the Necrons. What's going on? Oh, we found this Necron tomb world. What's going on there? Hell's breaking loose. Oh my god, it's Necron. You were there for ages reading this stuff. There was so much on release. Now, we've got a few blurbs. Go and buy our models, scrub. That's what we've got now. I don't know what changed. When I did the Soul of 40K's being lost video a little while ago, this is kind of what I meant. Buy our models, scrub. That's where we are now. We don't get White Dwarfs full of passion. We don't get that. We're lucky we even got White Dwarf at all, because Games Workshop got rid of White Dwarf for a long time, right? And replaced it with this Warhammer Visions magazine that nobody wanted. Yeah? We're lucky we got it at all. But gone are the days when Games Workshop used to sit down and go, listen, mate, come here. Come here. No, stop what you're doing, come here. Do you want to hear about killer robots? Yeah? Cool. So there's these star gods, right, called the Catan, and they would be gone, and you'd be in there, and they would get the Games Workshop would come and get you. They would go, right, you're a hobbyist. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Come here, right? And they would come and get you with the White Dwarf. You'd walk past, go, I'll get the magazine. That's fine. The magazine, what is it? 3-4 quid at the time? I'll get the magazine, it's fine. You know, it's not a big investment. And then you're reading it, and all of a sudden you're there. Who are these Necron people? Who are the Tau? Wow, these guys are cool. You would think, reading those White Dwarfs, that they were the main characters of 40k. That's how much they pushed it. They went, dude, look at how cool these new things are that we're bringing out. The last time they did this was with Gilliman's Return. And we all know how controversial that was and why they were doing it. By our Primaris Marines. That's what it was for, right? That's the last time they did anything like this. Because you can't introduce, you literally can't introduce the Great Rift without giving some lore. But even then, it was minute, dude. It was minute. When Gilliman came back, again, you remember the one that's on the front where it kind of looks like Rogel Dawn? Because he's covered in gold, and you're like, what? It's a bit weird, you know? I've got that White Dwarf still as a piece of history, you know? The Primarch returns, it says on the front. And you read it, and he's in about 8 pages, and most of those pages are artwork. What are you doing? This is a Primarch coming back. This should be the whole, most of the issue should be, oh my god, Gilliman's back. Look at all the lore we've got. Look at all the stories we've made. Look at all the short stories we've got in here. It's all about this. Look, all these dioramas that we've done with lots of stories and lore attached to them. Dude, it's brilliant. Ventress is dead. We've killed him off because he's cringe. And here's the story where he's dead. And da-da-da-da. And, dude, that's what they would have done back in Necron days when they came out. Back in Tau days when they came out. That's what they would have done. Now we've got a few blurbs. And model prices. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure whether it's because Games Workshop's talent pool has dried up. I'm not sure it's because the new writers that they've got there aren't up to snuff or up to the task, or whether they've been told that this is what they've got to do. I don't know. I don't know. But I know Games Workshop have it in them to do something like this. Every single month, every White Dwarf should be half lore, dude. It should be packed full of stuff to get your teeth into. There should be dioramas, and there should be, you know, battle reports. Bring those back, please, you know, and things like that in the game. Sure, yeah, in every White Dwarf, there should be that. But there should also be copious amounts of lore and stories to get you inspired for your next army. Because that's what you're here for, right? To sell models. Telling people to buy your models, yeah, some people will buy them and you'll make okay sales. But if you suck them in like you used to with your lore and your storytelling chops, if you let the Black Library writers come and get a little piece of that White Dwarf action, and they start doing short stories and writing new parts to the lore every single month, you are going to see far more people get ingrained, because you're not only getting new people, you're getting your existing people to buy more new armies. And I think I've hit the nail on the head there. By accident. When I was at Games Workshop, we were told, recruitment, recruitment, recruitment. Don't focus on the hobbyists you've already got in your store. They don't matter. Just get new people into the store. Why? Because we're going back to the bucket analogy. The hobby is like a very big bucket being filled up with water. But there are several holes in the bottom of that bucket that the water is flowing out of, and those are the people leaving the hobby. So the tap at the top is people entering the hobby, right? And people flowing out the hobby at the bottom. Our job is to make sure that the recruitment is good. And that tap gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Because people are always going to leave the hobby, but we want more and more and more and more people to enter in, so it doesn't really matter, right? My philosophy was a bit different to that. I was like, why don't we just plug up the fucking holes? Why don't we just plug up those holes so we lose less people? And you know what? What I'm telling you to do now means that people who are already in that bucket stay in the bucket. You plug up the holes. Because they go, I'm not really into 40k anymore. No. Oh, this is a short story about Black Templars. Let me read about that. Oh my god. There's my wallet. I want these Black Templars. They stay in the hobby. You don't need to lose people. Okay? That doesn't need to be the status quo. The status quo doesn't need to be, we need to frantically fill up this bucket, because that is a loser. As soon as that tap starts to go a little bit smaller, you're screwed. No, plug up the holes in the bucket. And do so by letting people get ingrained in your lore, by letting Black Library writers and other writers who are actually good at writing lore, write lore. And keep the lore coming out. Keep short stories coming out. Keep things coming out in White Dwarf and in free spaces. Give it away. Give away your lore for free. Right? Give it away. If it's ancient lore, give it away for free. Just give it away. Let people read it. Okay? What Games Workshop do is they put their advertisements behind a paywall. That's crazy, right? Games Workshop put their advertisements behind a paywall. You know that lore you get in the 40k rulebook and in your codexes? That's what should be getting people ingrained into the hobby. But to get those things, you need to spend 35 quid a time. That's stupid. Games Workshop. I know there are really good people out there who do lore, right? Do your own lore videos. Go to the Black Library, you know, writers, and go to the voice actors that you've got and have them read your lore using your artwork that you own. Do it yourself. It won't harm anybody else's channels. Just do it yourself. Do a 2-hour deep dive on the Black Templars. Live from the Warhammer studio. Where you get some of the actual designers of the Black Templars to come in. Get Rick Priestley back. And John Blanche. And sit them down. Why did you like the Black Templars? What did you do for them? And then go into the lore of them. Using the models and the art. And where they come from and how they fight. Dude, you would be seeing... And don't put it behind a firewall. Just put it on YouTube. You would get so many views. And so many people going, I need Black Templars. How much money do I have? Screw the rent. I'm getting Black Templars. You plug up the holes in the bucket. That's what you should be doing. Anyway, that's my rant over. That's why I think lore sucks these days anyway. Too much focus on selling models, not enough focus on building a hobby that everybody can enjoy. I love you all a long time. I'll speak to you tomorrow for some more epic hobby nightmares. Have a good one. See you later. Bye now.